Hey everyone, it's Mr. Wob194. I hope you're doing well today. I have another book review for another Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark book. This is the second in that old trilogy from Alvin Schwartz, and illustrated by Stephen Gammell. This is the second book, like I said, more Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. Yes, the same red and black aesthetic as that original book. Look at this nice little cover here with the people walking in the dark. Very, very cool. Here is the first book, just in case you haven't seen it before. And here is the third book, Scary Stories 3, more Tales to Chill Your Bones. Excuse me. I tried to read it in the viewfinder on my camera. I couldn't. Anyway, that is the other two books of the trilogy. I haven't started reading the third one yet. I want to get it done soon because of some other stuff I'm going to do on the side for the projects. And I actually took this original hardcover that I bought. This is kind of my use outdoors copy. Kind of like when I'm actually physically reading the books, as a collector, I have many different versions of Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. I've been reading this since, since 2018 when I had a back injury, just like I talked about in my previous video. This hardcover I take with me all over the place. It has all three books in it. It has the original Stephen Gammell artwork. There is a new version, as I said in the previous video, that has a different artist, and it's awful. It's really, really awful. I might review that someday, I don't know. More Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. This is just as good, if not possibly better, depending on the viewer, as the previous book and the one that comes after it. I love it a lot. I think it's a very good series. Just in general, you're always going to have something good to read out of these. This book in particular is about 80 pages long, not too bad. And I'm going to go through, by the way, in case you don't know, this is a horror anthology of short stories that are anywhere between 2 and 3 pages long, all the way up to like 7 at the biggest. These are not very long at all, they fly by, and the book is actually divided into different sections. I don't think this one had any kind of comedy stuff in there, as far as I remember. There might have been one, maybe the She Was Spittin' and Yellin' Just Like a Cat section. I think it's supposed to be the comedy section, I don't know. And there's kind of some more humorous stories in here, but pretty much all of them creep me out in some way, fashion, or form. Even if I think the first book is probably my favorite, I'll do a ranking video at some point on all three of the books, from least favorite to favorite. I like all three. There is no worst and best type of stuff with this series. You can't really go wrong. By the way, I think this one came out in... Let me look real quick. The first one came out in 1981, this one came out in 84. There's a lot of years between each of these books, which is kind of bizarre because of how short they are. Alvin Schwartz doesn't seem like he had a massive output of books, by the way. So let's talk about some of my favorite stories in the book. I do want to highlight some. A Weird Blue Light in the first section of the book is really solid. I really like that one. There's another story immediately after that that really creeped me out called Somebody Fell from Aloft, having to do with a ship out in the seas. Very, very creepy. In case you don't know, by the way, a lot of these stories are based around urban legend type stuff. A lot of them are retold from folklore, and the back of the book also happens to have notes tying back to where different versions came from and whatever of these stories, in case you're curious about that. If you're a big urban legend fanatic like myself, this book series is for you, I tell you. And reading it as an adult back in 2018, a lot of people would think this being a sort of middle grade or elementary book, a lot of folks would think this is not going to be for them as adults. I promise you, if you love horror, you can get something out of these books, not just because of Alvin Schwartz's very short, very well-written stories that just somehow always click. Again, like I said in the last book review, it seems to me it's almost like a comedic timing type of thing. Schwartz can tell a story, and then at the end, the kind of punch that he gives, even though these are mostly retellings of folklore and urban legends, he really just lands it every single time for me. I think that people will really like this even if you are an adult who'd never read it, because like I said, I've read this for the first time back in 2018. I've read it every single year, all three books in that hardcover, every single year since I bought it and got into these. Let's see, there's another story in here that's very gross and trying to be humorous, but very, very eerie, called Wonderful Sausage, about a butcher who goes crazy, and it is fantastic. Very gross, very gory. In case you're squeamish, you might want to skip that story. Even the picture with that story might creep you out. Maybe I'll go ahead and show you that one really quick just so you can get a taste of the artwork. Let's see, it says it's on page 40. Yeah, look at this. Look at this little guy right here. How gross is that? There's some great artwork in here. I love how there's kind of a, like I said in the previous video too, basically Stephen Gammell goes for kind of a splotchiness, but also kind of like a sketch art style, and it looks fantastic. Every single picture in this book, just like the previous one, just like the one after it, all of them are just phenomenal. I love them. Let's see, which another recommendation could I give you from this book? I think A Ghost in the Mirror, if I'm thinking right, that might be the Bloody Mary retelling. There's also like one story in here, or one song or something that's, I think it's called the Hearse song or something. That was in the previous book as well. Very eerie. Let's see, what else is there? I feel like there's another story I'm missing on one of these 2 pages. The table of contents has to have something in here I'm missing. Anyway, oh, there's one in here, The Bed by the Window. Basically a bunch of guys in like a hospital-ish type of thing. One guy dies, the next guy moves over. He starts telling the other guy, who's eventually going to inherit this bed, about some pretty beautiful things he saw outside of the window that only he could see out of from the angle of the building and the room they're in. And that guy starts to get a little jealous about what the other guy can see, and it has a pretty wonderful morality lesson at the end of that story. A lot of these do, but it just shines. I love the book so much. I can't recommend this trilogy of series or books or whatever you want to call this enough. Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark also has a movie adaptation that came out, I think it was the year before last, in like 2020? Either 2020, 2019. I think it was 2020 though. I think my wife and I had just gotten married or were just about to get married. I have like 2 copies of this, one on DVD. I have a steelbook of it. I love the movie. I think it's fantastic. It does such a great job. Very much like copying the Goosebumps movie from 2015. It very much honors the original stories in all 3 of these books. Especially the good old Harold right here from the 3rd book, who I love deeply. If you love these stories, this movie, if you've not seen it, you're missing out. I know it's PG-13, there's really no gore in there, but it's pretty creepy. It's got some great stuff. This is an absolute staple of Halloween time for me, and I missed it last year. I had it on my bookshelf and not on my movie shelves, and I totally missed it. I totally forgot to watch this last year, and I'm very upset about that. I will be watching this very soon. But anyway, look forward to my update videos where I do talk about movies and stuff I watched that week. I'd love for you to hear my opinion and my rating on each of the things I watch or play or whatever that week on video games and movies and all that stuff. Anyway, getting back to the book itself, More Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, the 2nd book of the series. What would I rate this? For me personally, I think some of the stories are weaker than the 1st book. They're still better, much better than just like above average status. They're typically very fun, very creepy, very enjoyable. And I think even though this came out many years after the previous book, and the same thing with the 3rd book too, coming out so many years after this one, they typically have a very good continuity to them between the artwork and the style of storytelling that Schwartz used. It was just fantastic. It really sticks with you. It really creeps you out and haunts you. And if you're reading this late at night in the dark, like you should, I recommend it that way, it'll creep you out. It'll stick with you, I promise you. Anyway, More Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. If I had to rate the book on a 5-star basis, I would probably give it, I'm going to have to give it a 5 out of 5. I love the book deeply. There's not really any flaws to this one. The more comedic stories are actually pretty funny, or humorous, if you want to call it more of that. They're not actually like laugh out loud. You might grin a little in an evil way, but that's just, you know, like the Wonderful Sausage story is a great example of that. Very horrifying. What did you guys think about this book? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Is this your favorite of the trilogy of books? What do you think about the movie? What's your favorite story and illustration in here? Let me know about that as well. I'd love to see all your comments down in the comment section down below, guys. Thank you for watching. Again, 5 out of 5 for me. Really love it, and I really recommend all 3 books, just so you know. So the next one's probably going to be a pretty positive review as well when I get around to finishing it, and starting it, for that matter. Anyway, God bless you guys. Happy upcoming Halloween, even though we're still in September. Hope you're ready for it. I can't wait to start decorating. I haven't started yet. Anyway, thank you guys for watching. God bless you all. Goodbye.